Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Hunter Thomas Mounce. This is episode 9 of the Folks Like Us podcast. Today, we have my buddy Collin Nash. I'm excited to catch up with him for sure. He is, first and foremost, a great country artist here in Nashville, Tennessee, but he's also a singer-songwriter. He's also a producer, and he's also a lead guitar player for another great artist. So he's got a lot going on. I'm really excited for you guys to meet him. And with that, y'all say hi to Collin Nash.
It ain't much, but it's honest work. Work harder than the devil on God's green earth. Then it's Saturday cold beer and Sunday church, and the broken record spins.
Hello, buddy.
Well, Collin, let's see here, man. You got some breaking news on your front. Can you tell the folks about your big announcement?
Yeah, we got a single coming out May 25th. First single from debut record.
Awesome. So the record. Is this the first single that's coming out from the whole record?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And what's it called?
I Won't Give Up on You.
I Won't Give Up on You. Okay. Did you write that yourself?
I wrote it with Ben Chapman and Meg McCree.
Okay.
I had that idea, like sometimes I just like to get on my guitar and find a riff, and I was working at an open G a lot, playing a lot of Rolling Stones stuff, and I had this thing, and I wrote a verse and a chorus, and then I think a couple days later I was hanging out with Meg and Ben and sitting on their couch, and I played it for them, and they really liked it. And we finished it in like 15 minutes. That's kind of how we operate.
Wow.
No scheduled rides, just hanging out.
That's cool. Well, that's kind of like what we're doing right here. We don't have a script or anything. We're just talking as two friends, kind of off the cuff. So I like how that whole thing operates for sure. So you said I Won't Give Up on You?
Yes, sir.
Is that what it's called? Okay, cool. So I actually I play down at Neighbors in Sylvan Park here and there at the Songwriter round, and the first time I'd ever seen those two was probably a couple months ago. They were playing. Dude, the writing, the singing, the harmonies, the guitar playing, all of it was super awesome.
Oh, yeah. I love them to death, and I remember the first time seeing them play together was at Revival. I think I might have been there the night that they met, and you could just tell there was just like instant connection.
Yeah.
They've kind of got their own thing that's really cool. And I'm sure a lot of people would be envious. It's like a Johnny and June sort of thing,
It seems like it for sure from the outside looking in. And so that's actually who you play guitar for in their band, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And is it just Ben Chapman?
It's just Ben Chapman.
Okay.
And we've started doing this thing called Peach Jam at the basement. It's like a monthly thing, second Wednesday of every month, and it's been a blast, man. I mean, the basement, that's kind of one of those venues in Nashville. I think that as a writer and artist, getting to play on that stage that's kind of a bucket list when you first move to town. And it's cool that we get to be there every month, and the basement's been so supportive. They've given us one side of the sign there.
What do you mean by that?
Like there on 8th Avenue, the Basement Nashville sign.
Okay.
Like one side is kind of, I guess, for whatever else. I think you can maybe, if someone's putting a record out, like you can rent one side of it and announce your record. But then the other side of that sign, it says, Ben Chapman and Company, whatever the date that we're playing, and it's stayed that way. And that's just like the coolest thing ever to drive down.
So
Edge, I'm trying.
Man, it's either Edge Hill or 8th Avenue.
8th Avenue is what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I was blanking.
Yeah, no worries. Too. So you guys got free press for this cool jam thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And you said it's once a month?
Yeah. Our next one is actually whatever the second Wednesday in June is.
Okay. Damn, okay. So is that a full band showcase?
Yeah.
Nice. I'm going to have to check that out. I go to the Basement East a lot, which is another great venue. I'm sure it's the same owners, obviously, but I'm actually going there to see William Clark Green on Friday.
Oh, man.
So
that'll be a great show.
Yeah.
I just saw Sierra Farrell there maybe about a month ago, just
Okay.
short of a month.
I guess I'm not familiar with her, but dude, that venue, I'm so glad it's back up and running. There was a time when I thought it was going to close down. So
Yeah, when that tornado came through, I was like, that might do it. At least for a while. I thought they might build a new location, but it's great that they were able to kind of restore it, and it's great in there. You know, I love that room. I've got to play it once, I think, kind of like within a year of being in town. I just kind of right place, the right time, playing for an artist, and it's very cool.
okay, so you're playing guitar for somebody?
Yeah, I was playing guitar for Walker McGuire at the time, and they were doing some kind of showcase with Broken Bow, I want to say.
Yeah.
But I could be wrong about that. That's been a while ago.
Yeah, I know before they broke up, I think they were signed to Broken Bow, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
Yeah, and then I played with Johnny McGuire for
Okay.
a few years, and he was also signed over there to Broken Bow after they broke up.
Okay. That's cool, man. So you've probably played guitar for a lot of people, and you probably made a lot of great connections down here that way.
I've met a lot of people just with that gig, playing guitar. I would say that's probably been my way in for whatever circles that I've got into, is like playing guitar and just being seen on stage with these guys that everybody knows in town. There's been a lot of doors that have been opened up because of it.
Yeah. So how long have you been in town, and at what point in your tenure did stuff like that start happening? Was it right away, or did it take a little bit?
Well, I moved here in 2015, like right after high school, and within like 2 weeks of being in town, I went to the listening room and I saw Andy Albert, Mitchell Tenpenny, Jordan Walker, Johnny McGuire. I met all of those guys in one night, and me and Johnny really hit it off, and we've been, really good friends ever since. And that kind of opened the door to where anytime that they would play a bigger show, like a showcase, like I played a couple CMA fests with them, whenever they could have a big lineup, they would take me out to play guitar, and I got to meet, I met Morgan Wallen at the first CMA fest that we played, and that was really cool, because you're just sitting back there in the tent, and there's people coming in and out, friends are coming to see their friends play, and so I did that for a little bit. Then Walker McGuire broke up, and Johnny had told me he was going to go solo, and that kind of just took a little bit to get legs. And then once it did, he took me out, and that was probably like a 2-year gap of where I was just here writing songs. And then when I went out with Johnny, that was when I really started playing guitar out on the road again, and just met a lot of people through that. And then COVID hit, and that was the end of that. And then I met the first night that Ben Chapman was in town. I saw him at Revival. I'd never heard him play. I didn't know what any of
it was his first time being in town?
Yeah. I think it was the first night that he was in town, and I believe somebody told him to come to Revival because that was a cool scene. And so he was there, and it might have been like my first or second time at Revival. And I met him, and I just instantly just fell in love with him. He's one of the sweetest human beings on the planet.
Yeah.
And I think I told him that night, I'm like, hey, you ever need a guitar player? You let me know. And I had never heard any of his music. Just because of who he was, I wanted to be involved. And we've been kind of inseparable ever since.
That's cool. I'm glad you said that, because I find myself, especially the longer I'm in Nashville, kind of getting my grasp on taking it for what it is. I feel like I try to be friends with people just based on who they are first, and if they're good at music, that's a cool added bonus. But that's really cool that you feel the same way about that.
Yeah. That's something that I feel like I was a little bit turned off by in my first few years of living here, is how artificial a lot of those relationships were, where it was like, bro, what's up, dude, when are we gonna write soon? And it's like you don't really care about these people. If they stopped doing music and moved home, you probably wouldn't talk to them. And I experienced a little bit of that and just got really turned off by it, and it is it's very common in one part of the genre. And so I know that when that whole revival thing started, I was about to move home. I was just about done with it because of that sort of thing.
When you said when revival started?
Well, when I started going to revival's been going on, I think, since like 2010.
Okay.
2011.
I thought it was, yeah.
But this is probably 2018. I was ready to move home just because, like, I don't do very good with the city life. I'm sure that you might even be in the same boat with us being from the same area. And I didn't want to do the top 40 country scene anymore.
Yeah.
I had my fill of it. And I was working at a golf course in Belmead. And there was this guy working there, Vinny Paolizzi. And he's the one that books Revival. And so he's like, man, you should start coming to Revival. You know, I was like, I don't know. I didn't like going out at that point because of the, you know, that sort of thing that was going on. And he's like, man, just try it. Just come. And the first night I was there, I met Harper O'Neill, Meg McCree, Ben Chapman. Met Nate Frederick again. I'd met him early on. He's a Missouri boy, too.
You met all those people on the first night. And that's like all your best friends.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, all in one night. And then it was like, oh, okay, so there is such thing as like real relationships where any of these people could quit tomorrow and we would probably stay in contact for life. These are lifetime friends. That's what kept me in town. It was finding people like you were saying that you can get along with and care.
Mm-hmm. It's very important. It's really important. I actually met that Vinny Paolizzi guy this past week. I was in Key West, and I bumped into him. And, yeah, super, super nice guy. Yeah. I'd seen him around town, and I'd kind of heard of him, I think, now because of you. But yeah, he was a really, really, really nice guy, and obviously a super talented performer. So let's get back into your record real quick. Okay, so you got a single coming out end of May, and it's the first song off of that record called The American Sound. Were all these people that we're kind of discussing, did they all have kind of a collective hand in helping you write it?
Yeah, I think all of them did, even if there's not a song credit to them. I know that I was pretty settled into just being a writer at the point when I had met all these people. And I was like, I'm not going to do the artist thing anymore. And it was a lot of poking and prodding from everyone, like, man, you need to do a record. You need to do a record. And it was finally like, okay, I'll do one. And most of them do have a co-write on the record somewhere in there. But yeah, they had a huge hand in that.
What was the span of time you think that it took to write this whole project?
Writing specifically for the record, I didn't start until July of last year, and we were recording by November. It was kind of one of those things where I was on vacation in South Padre Island, and I'm a huge Tom Petty fan. Like that, he's kind of my North Star. And that Warren Zane autobiography that came out however long ago, I'd read it before, but I just was on the beach and I was like, I'll read it again. And I don't know, like something just clicked where I was like, man, I just got really inspired to start writing. And for so long I had written songs that were kind of all over the place and not really cohesive. And it was like this self-discovery moment, like, okay, this is what I do best, you know, just getting up there with a guitar and playing essentially rock and roll music. The country thing just comes out naturally because of where we're from. And I just started writing songs. I had like 4 or 5 that came together in about a month and a half. And then there were a couple of songs that I wrote after I'd booked the studio time to go in. And it came together really fast. There is 2 songs on the record that are a couple years old that I'd just been holding on to. A, trying to get them cut, and B, like it wasn't the right time for me to do anything as an artist. I wasn't ready, wasn't even considering it. So it came together very naturally, this group of songs did.
That's awesome. Man, it seems like, and I don't know if you want to call it God, the fate, the universe, whatever, but it seems like there's these key moments and these key things that are happening that are really keeping you here in town and on the right path, like the bumping into all those people that night that became your good friends, right when you wanted to leave. Then you got the book that you'd already read before, but for some reason you read it again while you're on vacation of all places. And that's just really cool. It seems like everything's meant to be that's coming together.
Oh yeah, we can call it God.
Heck yeah. Okay.
He's been really good to me, and he's kept me out of a lot of situations that at the time I thought were good, and like, I gotta have this happen, I gotta have this, and they would fall through, and I would, you just go through that disappointment over and over again. But this, it all feels very divine, and it feels right, and I have peace about everything that I'm doing right now, and the people that are in my life, and what's come of all this. And I know there's purpose. I don't know what's going to come from this, but I know that there's at least some kind of purpose to what I'm doing.
You can feel it while you're creating this stuff, can't you?
Yeah, it all just kind of came too easy. You know what I mean? Sometimes like things just fall in your lap. I'm kind of spiritual in the mind of that. I think that sometimes songs are given to you rather than like you conjuring it up in your brain.
I'm with you.
They just kind of fall in your lap.
Yeah.
And there's 4 or 5 songs on this record where I don't know where the heck that came from.
Yeah.
It just happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely feel that way about songwriting. It seems like every time I feel like I've got it figured out, and I'm like, just when I'm thinking like, man, I'm a pretty good writer, that's when I'll go have a writer's block and not be able to think of anything. And then right when I think like, actually, man, I have no clue what I'm doing, that's when the one will fall into my lap, like you're talking about. And it does make you think that there's just like something else at work that we don't really know about, because there's been songs where I've written them and been like, man, I don't really know if I can take credit for that because it just popped into my brain. It's not like I sat and like thought really hard and got it out. It was just like, oh yeah, that occurred to me.
Yeah, I think that some people call it being in tune. Being in tune to the universe, if you will. If you're checked in to whatever's going on in those frequencies, and you're kind of writing from a pure place. That's where these songs come from. I had read, I'm a big Rustin Kelly fan.
Okay.
And I would watch, he's kind of like off the internet right now. I think he's making a record or something. That's what artists tend to do.
That's probably what Tyler Childers is doing too, because he's been off Instagram for like 2 or 3 years, and everybody's like, "What the?"
Yeah, he's just living in Kentucky, living, doing the real thing.
Yep.
I'm really envious of that. I think that he's got a great point. I watched an interview with him, and he was talking about, why would I live in Nashville? Everything I write about is here. How are you going to write about these things surrounded by skyscrapers? And I'm all about that. But as far as like back to that Rustin thing, he would post these things on his Instagram story about things that inspired him or what encouraged him to write. And he one day posted about this essay by Ralph Waldo Emerson called The Poet. And it's basically, I ended up reading it, and it really changed a lot of things for me, in the sense that in there it kind of talks about how the poet, or in our case the songwriter, lives amongst common men and speaks for the greater man. And obviously with what we do, there's a lot of substance around. There's a lot of drugs and alcohol everywhere.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But it talks about how like the poet doesn't write in an inebriated state of mind. He drinks water from a wooden bowl. Like there's this sense of purity and being in tune. And so having that kind of mindset and approaching songwriting like that, like it really did. It changed a lot for me. And it's, at the end of the day, it is like kind of heady artist stuff, but we're those kind of people. So that sort of thing, I feel like, is meant for us. It was given to that guy to give to us, and that's all this is, man, is just being open to learning and growing.
Yeah, I'm really thankful to the people who came before us. A lot of them I don't know their names, but we wouldn't really have any of this stuff if it didn't get passed down. So, but it's been on our shoulders to commit to it and keep pursuing it. But that's an art that was invented a long time ago. I feel like so that's
Absolutely.
Cool. That's cool. I knew that to be true, but I'd never thought about it in that sense. That is cool to be taking part in something that's kind of. Stories and, urban legends and tales and all that stuff. That's been going on since the beginning of time. Mm-hmm. That's kind of cool to be linked to that kind of thing. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I think the commerce aspect is pretty new. I know that there's a lot of conversations, and rightfully so, about like songwriters getting paid appropriately, and I 100% believe they should. it's also kind of a newer thing for there to be commerce for art, music in particular. Most of the time people did it for free, and it really was storytelling. And I think that sometimes there's like the commercial aspect of music, and not necessarily that I think like, popular country music. It's popular because it's easy to like. It's just there's certain chord structures that hit our brain and you just feel good. But the commercial aspect comes from the commerce, and you get a lot of these people, like these ex-football players, that like tear their shoulder up and they move to town and figure out the equation on how to write these songs, and it loses a little bit of that. And so I think that's what it is for me, is trying to get back to a pure place and tell those stories and see like, hey, we have a responsibility. These people hear the words that we're saying. If you're not putting a good message out there or saying something that matters, what are you doing? Are you just trying to make money? Because that's pretty gross. Although I don't have a problem with money either. I would love to have a bunch of it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I definitely get what you're saying. And I'll just tell you, I mean, it sounds cliche, but I'm definitely not in it for the money, because I have spent way more than I've ever made, and I still love it, as much or more than I ever have. So I think maybe that's a sign that you're in a good place with it. Is it?
I think so. I mean,
okay.
as long as you love it and it's what you want to do, I think, sometimes you get lucky and you get a big payday, and that's awesome. But songs live a lot longer than you do, and your money doesn't go as far as you do. And I mean, think about all the families of, like, maybe they had an uncle or a grandpa that was a big songwriter. Like, think about like Roger Miller, the contribution that he made to country music and the words that he said. That's lived on much further than that money is gone from those songs. I'm sure that his family's not rolling in it. You know what I mean? So it's just important to keep that in mind about like what you're writing, and realizing it outlives you by a long shot.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had that exact same thought before, and the thought was, even if I don't ever end up making my money back from all that I've invested in this, at least I'll have something that outlives me.
Yes.
And I even have thought about, however many years down the road, what if my great grandkids are like, hey, let's put in that thumb drive of Grandpa Mounce's first album. We really like to listen to that. Can you believe that's what it sounded like back when he lived? Man, that just really takes me back. I'm glad we have that. Because at the end of the day, whenever people pass on, you don't think about, and I know this is cliche too, but you don't think about the vehicle they were driving, or how much money they had, or really probably even the size of the house that they had. A lot of the stuff that, and it's nothing, not me preaching, but a lot of the stuff that people put at the top of their priorities, it doesn't really matter whenever life's all said and done. So I'm glad you feel that way, because I've thought about that myself, and that's kept me going a lot. So is that something that keeps you going too?
Yeah, absolutely. I had a lot of really great men in my life growing up that are no longer here, and that accomplished things and had things and did cool things, but the legacy that they left with other people and how other people felt about them, that outweighs the other stuff by a lot.
Yep.
So I try to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and it's got me even thinking about a couple of my uncles that have passed away, and I used to go to deer camp in Summersville, Missouri, which isn't far down the road from you. It's Shannon County. I know you're in Denton County, Eminence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But man, I'm just thinking about all of the great stories that those guys had at deer camp. It was such a rich part of my life, and it's a great part of my life to look back on, because those guys could tell a story so much better than I feel like I've ever written a song.
Yeah,
and that's how I think about them.
The storytellers from our region,
Oh,
it's unbelievable. I've always, I grew up in Salem, so that's where the Dillards are from. The Dillards were the Darlings on the Andy Griffith Show. And Mitch Jane, who was he worked at KSMO, the AM station there in Salem, and played in the Dillards. and he had this show called Hickory Holler, and it was storytelling. And there's a craft to it, and it seems like the people in the area that we come from are just really good storytellers. I'm in the same boat as you, man. I wish I could tell stories.
I can't. I start overthinking it. I start looking up like I'm doing right now. I start stumbling over my words. I backtrack a lot. I'll add stuff in because I forgot it. And it's just like those people who are just they capture the entire room, much like we try to do when we play music. Mm-hmm. Whenever they're telling the story around the fire, everybody adjusts their lawn chair and kind of leans forward and looks at them. You know, it's just super, super cool. But yeah, that's like what you remember people by. So that's cool that we're kind of connecting all that. Heck yeah. So you said how many songs are on this record you're putting out?
Right now is 8.
Okay.
But it could be 9. So I'm planning on putting the record out Labor Day weekend. So the first single comes out Memorial Day weekend. The album comes out Labor Day. It's stretched over a summer. So I got a little bit of time, like about a month more before I got to really lock it down. I think we might go in and do one more. But as of right now, it's 8.
Okay. And are you going to put out more than just the one that's coming out in May?
Yeah, I'm probably going to put out, I think, like 3, maybe 4 singles.
Okay.
Just like 1 a month.
Cool.
Till then.
Awesome. Man, I'm really, really looking forward to hearing this. As far as like production and like style goes, is there anybody, and I hate to ever try to compare anybody to anybody else, but just for my imagination and for everybody else, is it kind of like more like a Dave Cobb type thing, or is it kind of like a Sturgill album or a Tyler Childers album? Like, what kind of vibe would you? I hate the word vibe. I don't know why I just use that. But you know what I mean.
I say it a lot too.
Gosh.
Dave Cobb that's my guy.
Okay.
I love every record that he's made. I love his production style. His whole philosophy about catching the emotion, and that I would say that's my production style. I use a lot of old school techniques. I don't think that there's anything wrong with a little bit of pitch correction here and there, but I do prefer none of it. You know, if there's a bad note, it was of the moment, you know, and let it live there. A lot of times you get these really special moments on records when you just let human nature exist instead of trying to automate it out. And on my record, which was when I started, it was my first endeavor into production, and now I'm working on a couple of different records for people. But when I started, I was very much so of the mind, like, we're going to go in. We went to 1979, which is right up the road from here.
What is that?
It's a studio. It's right here in the Nations, but they do analog recording alongside Pro Tools. So
they're like physically cutting tape and stuff?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, so that's what we did, is we went in and recorded the tape. And, you know, you can't really make mistakes. You can. I think sometimes people underestimate tape, and yeah, if you screw something up, you can spin it back and start recording, but you do need to be kind of on the ball. And we tracked it live. Some of it has clicks, some of it doesn't, you know, and there are these little bitty mistakes scattered that I don't think people would really notice. I noticed, but I think it makes it very human, and that was the game plan for the record, is to just let this is what we sound like, this is what we do, that sort of thing.
I'm stoked for this, man, because and I'm guilty of a little bit a lot more production than you're talking about, and that's something that I'm coming to appreciate with other people's records as of late, is just how vulnerable people are willing to be with their recordings. And really, if you can get a great recording that style you're talking about, in my opinion, that just means that that's proof that you've worked really hard at your craft. So that's just another element to it. And I'm really, really excited to hear it.
Yeah, I guess, but you know, like, that's when I say that, like, it's not discrediting the other side of production, like, because I think that a great song, it could sound anyway as long as it comes across as great. It doesn't have to be recorded on tape. It doesn't have to be all recorded live on the floor. I mean, some of my favorite Tom Petty records are not recorded live on the floor. They're kind of overdub records. The records that he was doing with Jeff Lynne, like Full Moon Fever, it's got Free Fallin' and all that. I'm pretty sure they did all that kind of piece by piece, and so there's no right way to do it. It's just whatever serves the song, in my opinion. I had a group of songs that just so happened to go with that sort of mindset, and so it's been fun the last few months to really stay there and try to make it as good as I can with the same techniques that they used 50 years ago.
Back to that thing about being connected to like the people before you. Do you feel that way? Does it feel a little more enriching doing it that way?
Yeah, it does. Just because the music that I listened to was all recorded that way, and it does feel very physical and feels very real. I mean, I've done plenty of recording where you've got the computer set up there, and that's fine. We made really cool stuff, but man, when you're in the studio and you see that tape rolling and you're listening to the mix back, and we're like, oh, play that back, and you hear that tape go, and then start up again, and that's the coolest thing to me. I love it.
Man, you've got me thinking about trying to do some of this, maybe. Is it, how far, okay, a studio like that, 1979 in the Nations, how far out are they booked?
I think that you could probably get in there within a month or two.
Oh, okay.
Of booking. It's not, they're busy, but they're not like, it's not like you can't get in there really. I hope that their business picks up to the point where it is hard to get in there, because I love those guys. Chris over there, Chris Mara, that dude is, top notch. He's one of the most, I think that everybody, pretty much every studio that uses tape in this country is going through that at some point, because he builds tape machines and he's kind of world renowned for it. He's really great, and I hope that their business picks up to that point, and that analog recording the tape, I hope that stays around and that people want to keep doing it and keep it around, because it sounds great.
And that's so awesome. And yeah, I'm with you. People who are that skilled at like, especially like a lost art, like making tape machines, nobody does that. It's like, but I feel like those people deserve success.
Yes.
So that's awesome. I'm gonna have to look into this. This is really, really interesting. And I live in the Nations, which is West Nashville, for those of you who don't know. So this place is probably like 2 miles from here.
Oh, probably less than that.
Really?
I bet it's maybe a mile. It's just right over here. You know where 51st Deli is?
Okay, 51st Deli.
It's literally like 600 feet behind it.
Dang.
It's not far at all.
That's the coolest part. That's one of the coolest parts to me about Nashville is you never know all the cool stuff that's going on around you. And then you discover it, and it's like, wait, right here?
This is where this has been going on?
Yeah, like you're talking about Revival. Like, how many times have you been on Demoveran Street on a certain night of the week before that, and you had no idea probably the Revival was going on or what it was even about?
Tons.
Yeah.
I'd seen the little Revival logo pop up on Instagram every now and then. I'd seen that Brent Cobb had played there a bunch, and I love Brent Cobb. And so, I had no idea that it was what it was. And when we started doing that, when all of us, whatever class of Revival that was, when we all started coming around there, it really started changing. And obviously, you had like Anderson East and Brent Cobb and Channing Wilson and Rob Snyder. Like, you had these guys that were of a time there that did something similar to what we're doing. But as things go, like, those people, grow and start doing other things, and they can't do Revival once a month. And then that leaves room for another class. And I think that was when Vinny started getting involved. I know that he met Rob, and they're both from Philadelphia, so that's what they have in common. And Rob, put Vinny in charge of booking. And Vinny's got a different palette than a lot of people around here do. So he just started booking his friends and things he liked, and it changed. And that's what I loved so much about Revival was any given night, it could change. You could have a top 40, very top 40 oriented artist sitting next to the most obscure, very lyrical folk musician. And
from Ireland or
yeah,
something.
Just anywhere.
Yeah.
You know, I loved that part of it. It's so eclectic and cool, and they haven't been doing. They're switching venues, so Revival hasn't been going on now for probably 5 months.
They're not going to be Tin Roof anymore?
No, I think they're working on a new location, but it's not going to be there anymore. So I missed it. You know, I'm ready for it to come back in whatever sort of format it comes back in.
That's cool. All this stuff you're talking about, being a bit emotionally attached to a venue or an event, and just all of the great people that come with that event. I've been really, really loving going to Live Oak this past year.
Yeah.
I've met a lot of great friends, a lot of people that I really, really love there. Love the bar owner. Mm-hmm. And it's been kind of like that for me. You know, I'd never played a ton of songwriter rounds, before. And this past year, it seems like I've been playing there once a month. And, like, there's a big crowd of people that goes and plays there. Yeah. So it's just really cool that we have the opportunity to be able to fit in somewhere and get to know some people. And I don't know, man. There's a lot of negative things about Nashville, but I try to really, really focus on all the stuff that I do like, and there is a lot to like.
Yeah, this place is awesome. I love it. And Live Oak is great. I'm actually doing an In the Round takeover May 24th, playing full band. So there's a plug.
May 24th. Let me see if I'm working. But go on. Yeah, I'm just going to see if I'm available to go to that. May 24th, you said?
Yep, May 24th.
Okay.
And I love Matt Burrell.
Yep.
New Yorker, awesome guy. And I think that what he's done with that is really important to the songwriting community. You know, you get guys that come along like Ward or like Rob Snyder with Revival that come in and give songwriters a place to grow. And Matt has done that with the In the Round. There's been some really great artists that have come up, you know, really quickly with that sort of thing. So I love it. I love it for him. I think it's great for the songwriting community.
Yeah, me too, man. Let's see. So one thing that Collin and I have in common is we're from Missouri, but to take it even a little bit further than that, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, we're both our families are both from the same area. He probably grew up 30 minutes away from where like 99% of my family lives. So you grew up in Salem. Mm-hmm. Okay. I actually grew up closer to Kansas City, but my entire family, we were the only part of our family who moved up to Kansas City, and it was just to make a little bit more money. I think my mom and dad were not making hardly any money down there, and they were just like, we gotta get somewhere else. So
if you don't work at the mines or U.S. Food or a sawmill, you don't make any money.
I was gonna say, very real. Yeah, it was like restaurant, chainsaw shop, grocery store, or cutting down logs, or cutting down trees, like logging, there have been. My uncle has a really successful not oil drilling. He's got a really successful well drilling business, and that's going really well for him. No pun intended. But yeah, it can be difficult. It can be difficult for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely not a rich part of the country by any means. My family comes from that kind of sawmill and lead mine sort of life. So my great-grandparents, like great, like they all owned sawmills and worked in sawmills. And my grandpa worked in a lead mine for 30 or 40 years, man. Like just going down there in the ground on night shifts and working his tail off and trying to make a living for his family. And that's the sort of hard-working lifestyle that we're used to seeing where we're from. And I really have a profound respect for people who will go and work a job like that just to get their family by. Like that is hard living. I don't think that people realize how hardworking that generation of people was especially in that area.
Yeah, I mean, that it really is. It's kind of hard to wrap your mind around how much suffering people will have to go through to make minimum amounts of money. You know, it really puts things into perspective for me, and it makes me more humble and more grateful for the stuff that I do have, because I'll get real upset about some really trivial, simple things, and I'm like, listen, dude, I don't have it hard compared to like a lot of the people that came before me in my family.
Yeah, like people you know.
Yes, people I know that are still, yeah. So, and to be honest, I didn't even know there was a lead mine. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, Doe Run.
Okay.
Doe Run, it's down in Reynolds County.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think relative to Shannon County. I know it's east of Dent County, and Shannon County is south of Dent County. So it's just east of you guys. I'll tell you what I love about our area of the country that we come from is you see the outside world start to influence and change and populate areas of this country that maybe at one point weren't as populated. Like, I know Montana is still pretty wide open, but you have all of these people that don't want to live in California anymore because it's too expensive, and they're moving to Montana. And we have a little bit of that in Missouri, but the great thing about Missouri is it's not going to change. The topography is too complex. There's too many hills. You can't really just cut interstates through that and build towns around it. It's not easy to do. So I think that we're lucky because Missouri is this time capsule. The Ozarks, where we're from, is like this little time capsule.
I never thought of it like that. Yeah, you're probably right, or you are right. The way that a lot of the people are living, I'm sure it's gotten a little more modern, just from like a technology standpoint. But the philosophy and the thought process is probably the same as almost all the people that came before them. Yeah. And I never thought of it like that.
I mean, you see pictures of Nashville. There's this awesome Instagram page that I follow called like Nashville History, and they'll show pictures of Nashville 30 years ago, and it looks like a completely different town. But Salem, Missouri, where I grew up, I look at pictures from the 1800s, like the late 1800s, and it looks exactly the same. All the buildings and everything, the courthouse, it's weird, you know. You see something that has not changed through this time of huge change culturally in the world and technologically speaking. It's nice. I'm not a big fan of change. I'm a fan of change when it creates like a positive sort of thing, but as far as like that sort of thing, I love things that stay the same and feel safe and comfortable, and that's what that town is to me. Is it's comfortable.
Dang. Yeah, I'd never thought of it like that, but it really is so true. And I think that there's a lot of parts of Missouri that are like that. Like the town that I'm from, or the town that I grew up in, is Pleasant Hill, Missouri. Mm-hmm. And dude, not a lot of people go there, but like the downtown district is, there's signs everywhere. It's like historical 1800 downtown district, and all those buildings are exactly the same. Like you can look down the main drag where all the buildings are that nobody really goes anymore, but like you can almost close your eyes and just imagine, you know, people back then, you know, probably just exchanging goods or, you know, selling their furs or whatever they were doing back then. But just now that you say that, I can picture that, and it is crazy. Dang. It's crazy because Nashville in 10 years changes insane amount. Like, mm-hmm. people who've lived here for 10, 15 years, like, oh, it's not even the same town.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, those places are hundreds of years old.
I mean, it'll be 7 for me in October, and I can't believe how much has changed since I first moved here. Yeah, just especially like the Midtown region, because all of those high-rise apartments have gone up. I mean, just the skyline of Nashville has changed so much since I first moved here.
Yeah. And what part of town are you living in?
I live over in Music Valley, which is directly across from the Grand Ole Opry.
I was about to... Okay. Dude, those bars, COVID sucked, but if anything good came out of COVID for like the bar scene in Nashville is like the resurgence of Nashville Palace and Scoreboard.
Yes.
All of a sudden those places, I don't know the exact reason, but they became like super popular again. Do you ever? I mean, you live right there.
I love Nashville Palace.
Dude, me too.
It feels very of its time. And I love that whole region of Nashville because I'm starting to see a couple of like new apartment complexes pop up, but for the most part, like it kind of feels like the country out there. Where our subdivision is, I can look out my back porch and I see there's 4 or 5 deer that come through every morning, and they kind of eat in that little meadow, and I see turkeys all the time, and there will be coyotes out there at night. And that feels like home. You know, it's a nice little piece of where we come from. So I love that area. I will probably move over to this side of town sooner than later, but I'm enjoying my time over there right now.
Yeah, you should. You should. I do love that part of town. And kind of referring back to what we were saying, it feels like the one part of town that hasn't really changed a ton.
Yeah.
Like it still feels like you're maybe in the 80s or 90s in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Especially Nashville Palace. Because that's just, they've kept what makes it the place. How do you say that? They've preserved like what made it the Nashville Palace, I feel like.
Yes.
You know, they haven't modernized it at all, I don't feel like.
No, you see pictures of that place in the 90s and stuff. It looks exactly the same.
Does it look the same?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's cool to know. Well, buddy, it's been great talking to you today. Is there anything else that you want to discuss, or any more announcements? Like big thing is, you know, where can these people find you at?
All of the social media stuff. Instagram at It's Collin Nash, Collin with 2 L's. Facebook. I got some stuff on Spotify right now. Go check that out. I put out a acoustic EP last year that I'm pretty proud of, but just be on the lookout for that new stuff. We got that new single coming out May 25th, and we'll have a single every month until the record comes out. Spotify, Apple Music, all that.
Okay. YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube.
You got some stuff on YouTube?
Yep.
Are you still doing some vlog stuff? You did that a while ago. I remember there was like a video of you and your buddies in a van or something.
Yeah. We used to do the Facebook Live thing a lot from the van. Probably 4 or 5 years ago when we were just traveling around a lot. And that was of a time. I'm not really doing anything like that, but I think that we've got some things kind of in the works right now that will replace that sort of thing. I think we're just looking at all the formats, the social media platforms, and what we can do on those. And I think there's a couple long form things that we've got planned.
Okay.
So.
Are you playing any shows out on the road right now, or you staying in town?
Really trying to cultivate locally right now.
Okay.
Work the Nashville scene. So May 24th, we're playing that In the Round podcast. That'll be the next like full band show, and then I'm actually Sunday, which I think is the day this will come out. Maybe. Yep. We're playing at the Dogwood on Sunday evening, and we're doing like kind of a hybrid full band acoustic thing. So that'll be cool. I think the show starts at 7, and we'll probably play at 9.
Dogwood, dude, they're gonna go from like dance music to straight up Collin Nash music.
Yeah, it's going to be a big shift.
Yeah, no doubt, dude. The day drinking scene at Dogwood is hilarious. It's like being in college all over again. There's like people hanging off the top balcony.
Oh, Midtown is crazy.
Day drinking in Midtown is insane on the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, Sunday.
I love drinking margaritas at Chewy's in the middle of the afternoon. That's like my go. Chewy's is like oddly one of my favorite places to go.
Thank you for saying that, because I didn't realize a restaurant could be so polarizing. People, like, I love it. And I would try to tell everybody about it. I was like, I discovered this place called Chewy's. And everybody's like, dude, that place sucks, man. I don't know what I'm like, what are you... And they don't ever give me a reason. They just say it sucks. I'm like, okay. But then I meet people like you who say it's good. We need to go, get some food there sometime.
Yeah, you either hate it or you love it.
I freaking love it. And when I look in that little window and they're making tortillas, smashing the dough down, and I'm seeing that that's what's going to go on my plate.
Dude, that creamy jalapeno ranch, nuts.
Complimentary, too.
Nuts. God. And I've had, like, real Tex-Mex before, and I understand that there is, like, that is top tier. But here in Nashville, like, our Mexican options are okay.
Yeah.
You know, and Chewy's, I'm all about it. Chicka Boom Boom.
Margarita. We're We're going to go for sure. There is one more place that has really good Tex-Mex, and you maybe have been there. It's in Brentwood. It's called Uncle Julio's Authentic Mexican.
Haven't been there yet.
Oh, it's not very far away. It's like, you know how there's a Brentwood that's 45 minutes away, and there's a Brentwood that's 10 minutes away?
Yes.
It's the one that's 10 minutes away. So it's in that first shopping center that's just south of Nashville, and it's really, really cool. It's Tex-Mex again. It really reminds me of Chewy's, but they wheel out this black cart, and they got all the avocados, and they got the lime juice, and they got all these ingredients, and they start smashing cados and throwing them in the bowl, and they're asking you like, "Hey, do you want it spicy?" "Okay, yes, Tabasco." "Hey, do you want it to have lime in it?" "Okay, how much?" And then they'll squeeze limes in it, and then do you want it to have cilantro? They'll cut the cilantro, throw it in there. So like you get your custom guacamole how you want it to make it right in front of you, and it's freaking
That's
awesome.
incredible.
Gosh, it's good.
Okay, I'm gonna put it on my list of places to go. My girl just got a job down there, so there's
Perfect date place.
excuse,
dude. Perfect. Like if I was going to take a girl anywhere on a date, that is where I would go. Gosh.
All right, noted.
So Uncle Julio's. And then right back real quick to like just where people can find you and stuff. Do you have a website with tour dates if you ever do?
We are in the process of building a website now.
Okay.
So it should be launched and ready to go by the time the single comes out.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's where you can find tour dates. We're working on merch and everything right now too. So.
Okay. Is it going to be called CollinNash.com?
I hope we can secure that. What is it? URL? I don't know.
Domain.
I don't know, dude. I don't know how computers work.
Dude, get on GoDaddy and just type that in, CollinNash.com, and it'll say either thumbs up or thumbs down, and it'll probably be there.
Maybe the Collin with 2 L's will secure the deal, seal the deal.
Well, anyway, hey, dude, it's been a true pleasure, and my favorite thing about the Folks Like Us podcast is I always learn so much about people, and I learn probably more about you than I have learned about anybody, and I feel like we're a lot better friends now. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I've really enjoyed my time. Thank you so much for having me. This is awesome.
Yeah, buddy, thank you. Guys, this has been episode 9 of the Folks Like Us podcast. I'm the host, Hunter Thomas Mounce. This is my buddy Collin Nash. Y'all make sure to check out all his music on Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. Whenever he gets that website up and running, go to CollinNash.com. Go see a show. Go buy a T-shirt. See him whenever you come on vacation in Nashville, all that good stuff. And again, it's called the Folks Like Us podcast because it's where I interview people with extreme talent. But at the end of the day, they're just folks like us. You know, they're human. So thank y'all, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Bingo.
But it's honest work harder than the devil on God's green earth. Then it's Saturday cold beer and Sunday church, and the broken record spins.